I'm a little late, people. I know that. My apologies. I had all kinds of problems when I went to get on. Um, got a lot of things ready last night. Then realized that none of my audio video stuff was set up. Nothing for streaming. So, a little late, but here I am. Okay. Let's get started because I'm on the Twits. I'm on the YouTubes. I believe, as long as I'm on Twitter, I'm fine. So, Attorney General Dana Nessel says a drag queen for every school. Drag queens are quite fun. Yeah, they're no danger to our children at all. Whew, it's hard to get any more ridiculous than that. So we'll be talking about that today on the show. Plus, we've got an extensive interview with Matt Fenske. This is Ottawa County specific. He is our District 9 commissioner, I want to say. I'll make sure of that when we get to it. So we've got an interview with him. We'll be going over some of the things that he said, some of the things that Ottawa Impact is doing. Obviously, they're, you know what? I'll explain all that later. I'm Anon Don. This is the Homes Politicast. All right. You know, that's going very smoothly. I like this program that I'm using. Okay. So, first off, AG Dana Nessel. Let's check this out. So, Michigan AG says drag queens make everything better. Suggests drag queen for every school. Now, I don't know if we've got the audio of this. I have heard audio of this. So let's go over this because this is the most radical thing I think we've got going on in Michigan today. You know what? I'm just going to make sure that everybody can hear me. Give me just 1 second because, you know, I never know how this sounds on the receiving end. I always just kind of assume that it's going well, and I don't want to make that assumption because I'm getting very little report on my my mixer says I'm not very loud, so okay, I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. You can turn it down if that's too loud for you. My apologies again. That made it better. Okay, so Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel reportedly said Wednesday that, quote, drag queens make everything better, and, quote, that there should be a drag queen in every school during an event in Lansing. Now, this event was a pride event. There's pictures all over Twitter of her riding with the pride people and all this stuff. I'm not sure what exactly pride has to do with men dressing up as women and dancing in scantily clad clothing, or dancing scantily clad in front of children. But you know what? Let's just continue. Nate Nessel, who was the first openly gay person elected to statewide office in Michigan, made the comments during a civil rights conference while speaking out against what she described as efforts to divide Americans. Craig Mauger of the Detroit News reported on Twitter. Drag queens make everything better. Drag queens are fun, Nessel said, according to Mauger. Now, that's not according to Mauger. Again, I've heard the audio of this. So you know what? I'll see if I can find it somewhere. But here's the tweet. Mauger wrote that Nessel acknowledged that drag queen for every school line had not been poll tested. Yeah, she said, well, this hasn't been poll tested, but we're gonna get a drag queen for every school. He says at a civil rights conference in Lansing. It was a gay pride conference, not a civil rights conference. There was no discussion of civil rights. There was discussion of gay rights, because civil rights aren't a thing. Everybody has the same civil rights at this point. The Michigan Attorney General's office did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for clarification of her comments. Nessel's comments come amid heightened national tension surrounding the presence of drag queens and kings at events marketed toward children. So, as you have seen on this show, there have been drag queen story hours. Anybody that's been around for more than 10 seconds has seen the drag queen story hours. I believe they started in about 2014. The drag queens dancing for children in gay bars has been much more recent. A much more recent development in this, marketing of sexualization of children. But Dana Nessel is hopping on that train. The article continues. In California, authorities recently opened a hate crime probe after alleged Proud Boys arrived at a public library for drag queen story hour and began, quote, acting extremely aggressive with threatening, violent demeanor. You know what? Let's look into that, because California is the worst in terms of this. And I think I remember this public library thing. I'm pretty sure it was just a couple guys showing up, and they were like, hey, why are you doing this in a library? There was no... Oh, here we go.
Did you guys call the cops?
Thank you.
Relief from the heat outside. You were just talking. Now you're not talking anymore.
I don't understand.
It's not about being bigots against them.
Two little girls. I support and I love. I will never allow you to take them. Nope, will not happen. Get it right.
We'll insulate your attic for free.
Oh, I love the little ad we got there. Okay, so those guys obviously were very hateful, very that's a super hate crime. They might have put up a middle finger, and they were saying, you don't belong here. So that's now a hate crime in California. So if you're in California and you'd like to move somewhere that isn't 100% communist yet, come on over to Michigan. If you're sick of the drag queens trying to read to your children and all this stuff. Come to Michigan. We will take you. We need all the conservatives that we can get to swing this state over back to red, because this drag queen thing is getting out of hand. And in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis recently suggested that the state's Child Protective Services should investigate parents who take their children to drag shows. My goodness, that dude is just... he's going to win the presidency, I think, if he runs. So that's the end of the story. Let's see, Dana Nessel obviously is not going to respond to a conservative news outlet for comment. I don't think she can explain that really too much. But let's see. Something that she can do is to review groups and try and prosecute people tied to Unlock Michigan. So Dana Nessel wants a drag queen in every school and to jail anyone that is politically opposed to her. So, pair of, let's see, we'll just start right in with this. So, you can't get drag queen story hour. You can't form a group that opposes the people in power. So here we go. The Michigan Department of State believes a pair of nonprofit with ties to State Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey illegally solicited donations to send dark money to an effort to undermine Governor Gretchen Whitmer's power to issue sweeping pandemic orders. The department, led by Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson on Friday, referred the details of a 2021 complaint against two political nonprofits, Michigan, My Michigan, and Michigan Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility, to Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel for possible criminal investigation. The Bureau of Elections has reason to believe that Michigan, My Michigan, and Michigan Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility violated the Michigan Campaign Finance Act following the group's refusal to enter into a conciliation agreement. The department has referred the matter to the Attorney General, said Tracy Wimmer, a department spokesperson. A Nessel spokeswoman said the Attorney General's office has received the complaint and is reviewing it. Brian Shekel, a lawyer who represents the nonprofits, said in a statement both organizations fully complied with the law. In previous correspondence with the state, he denied any misconduct, saying in part the original complaint, quote, is replete with hyperbole and adjectives designated to let emotion control over facts and the law. Now, Democrats are great. See, that is not hard to believe at all, because Democrats are great at this. They say, dark money, ooh. You know, be very scared, because these two political groups got money, and the government doesn't know where it came from. They don't know who to punish, so they're going to punish the people that receive the money. Lawyers also pointed out that the state dismissed a similar complaint previously filed against Michigan Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility, so they've already been brought up on charges once and they were dismissed. Now they're trying it again. These are your highest government officials in Michigan going after grassroots organizations that do not approve of what they're doing. This is the kind of thing, and I'll talk about this later with Matt Fenske. This is the kind of thing that the United States government was designed to prevent. We do not rule by elites from the top down. We should be a local rule by the people and for the people. This harassing by government officials of nonprofit organizations that are seeking change is slightly disturbing. I mean, by the logic that anything they don't like is a crime, they can start coming after people like me for spreading disinformation, whatever the heck that is. So, the article goes on. Both nonprofits have at all times complied with Michigan campaign finance laws. We are looking forward to defending these baseless accusations, defending from these baseless accusations and bringing to light the Secretary of State's decision to put politics ahead of the law. Wow. So yeah, the nonprofits, the president of the nonprofit recognizes that Michigan's Attorney General, or the Secretary of State, is putting her politics ahead of the law, which isn't foreign to these women from Michigan, right? Dana Nessel has openly said if Roe versus Wade is reversed, she will not enforce Michigan law, because Michigan law right now has abortions illegal. And she says she will not enforce that. She will not prosecute anybody in the state of Michigan for breaking that law. So she's putting politics ahead of the law. Heather Lombardini is saying the exact same thing about Jocelyn Benson. She's putting her own politics ahead of the law. She's inventing things like dark money, ooh, that can be used against. She's basically making it a club, trying to club these nonprofits into submission. The article continues, we remain committed to discussing potential resolutions if and when the Secretary of State realizes that facts and law and democracy should always prevail over political ambitions. The allegations stem from the efforts of Unlock Michigan, a petition initiative that successfully garnered enough support to change a law used by Whitmer to issue large-scale health and safety orders in the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. Conservatives, including Shirkey of Clark Lake, blasted the governor's actions, arguing the orders amounted to an unconstitutional overreach. In order to get the hundreds of thousands of signatures needed to change the law, Unlock Michigan hired a company to collect signatures. Documents obtained by the state show on multiple occasions before Unlock paid that company, it received a corresponding payment from Michigan Citizens of Fiscal Responsibility, or Michigan My Michigan. So these politicians are extremely mad that we got a grassroots effort to change laws. We had people sign that petition. I don't remember how many hundreds of thousands it was, but we got a ton of signatures. I helped in that effort. I was out there running up and down the boardwalk on Grand Haven, gathering signatures. Let's see. So, Unlock Michigan received financial support from Michigan Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility and Michigan My Michigan. So now they're in the crosshairs, as Unlock Michigan has been the entire time they've been operating. The article continues, both organizations are led by people who either previously worked for the Senate Republicans or Shirkey to continue to work for the Michigan Republican Party. Shirkey also held fundraisers where he has solicited funds for these nonprofits, according to Bob LeBrandt, a GOP strategist and former general counsel for the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, who goes to great lengths to show ties between Shirkey and these groups in his original complaint. Okay, so Michigan senator is funding Republican efforts. Ooh, dark money, politics. Ooh, be very afraid. Article continues. A spokesman for Unlock Michigan declined to comment. I'm not surprised. This is the Detroit Free Press. It is, however, a violation of the act for an organization to raise money on behalf of the ballot question committee in order to shield the organization's donors from the reporting requirements of the act, reads a letter from Adam Fracassi with the Michigan Bureau of Elections. It is a violation of what act? The state's Campaign Finance Act? This wasn't a campaign. This was a ballot petition. This was, not a ballot petition. This was a legislative petition. It wasn't campaign finance. It wasn't campaigning for anyone. It wasn't going into re-electing Shirkey. So what campaign is it violating? Who knows? They don't have an answer. Although it may be possible that each entity raised those funds in the first half of 2020 independently of each entity's support for Unlock, to assume that this aggressive fundraising activity necessary for each organization to raise the sums that were then transferred to Unlock was completely independent completely independent strains credulity. I don't know what he's saying there. That they have to raise the money specifically for Unlock Michigan. Who the heck knows? The department believes these actions indicate both nonprofits may qualify as formal committees that helped the Unlock process. Formal committees? What formal committee is it? You know what? This whole article is so convoluted. So I'm just going to finish reading it, and then I'm going to note that, the Detroit Free Press is just unreliable. They don't ask the right questions. They just take people's word for it that it's against the law. There's not one law cited in here. I would be asking what law specifically is being violated here. Why would they qualify as formal committees? So I'm just going to continue the article, and then we're going to move on because I've got Mr. Fenske up next, and we've got a lot to talk about there. As a formal committee, both would need to file with the state campaign finance statements that disclose donations and expenses. Failure to do so can lead to a fine or a misdemeanor for the treasurer or whomever is in charge of record keeping according to state law. The department noted both nonprofits declined to provide tax forms from 2020 and a list of all donations and expenditures larger than $500 since the start of 2020. Lawyers representing the nonprofit argue LeBrandt failed to provide Shirkey controls or coordinates. Failed failed to prove Shirky controls or coordinates either nonprofit. Okay, so if Shirky is controlling or coordinating either nonprofit, then it would count as a what is it? Formal committee. So once the Department of State receives a complaint and determines it may be valid, it is required to give an alleged offender 90 days to provide additional information that may resolve the issue. Although both nonprofits had months to act, neither provided additional information, according to the state. Right. Because, see, what we have here is a classic case of innocent until proven guilty. You don't have to prove your innocence. Somebody needs to prove that Shirky is controlling these organizations, and I'm not even sure that that would be illegal. Again, they cite no law. The Detroit Free Press does no due diligence here to get the law that says if a senator is running a nonprofit or is helping to coordinate a nonprofit, that it counts as a formal committee. I would like to see that law. The Detroit Free Press does not give us that law. Therefore, I'm skeptical. You should be skeptical as well. All right, so Detroit Free Press doing the heavy lifting there, really finding out what's going on, really getting to the facts. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but I digress. Let's continue. Okay, let's see. So, I've got this interview with Matt Fenske. Now, Matt Fenske, Ottawa County Commissioner. He is the Board of Commissioners. Here he is with Peter Meyer, who is soon to be out of office as, himself. Peter Meyer. So, first of all, Matt Fenske labeled himself as a moderate Republican. Or I want to make sure I'm representing him right. Yes, I believe he labeled himself as a moderate Republican. Okay. I asked him many questions about financing, about where Ottawa County's money is going, what kind of things we're funding, what kind of things we're not funding, where we're getting our training. And I've taken away kind of three main points that I wanted to discuss on the show. So, point number one is, you know what, it may be more than 3 points. We'll just see how many points I get to. So, point number one, and I think this is the biggest idea that I took away from my talk with Matt Fenske, is that so he's got a different idea of how government works than I do, and I think than many Republicans do. Many Republicans, as I mentioned before, are of the opinion that government should be from the local level. They should have the most authority over your life. Okay, then the state, then the nation, national politics. The way he was talking seemed much more top down. So the orders came in from Governor Whitmer, her health department, and then they were issuing orders for all the counties. And he said, well, hey, this is the law. We've got to follow the law. We can't just pick and choose. And so we have to go along with their mandates. Now, the reason I was talking with him is because he has got a bunch of challengers to their Board of Commissions. 9 challengers in 9 different districts. Ottawa Impact is the company, or the group that is doing the challenging. So Matt Fenske is running against, I believe, let me make sure that I've got this correct. So, I can't find it immediately. I think he's running against Allison Medema. So he is District 9. He is over Coopersville, Hudsonville, Spring Lake, couple other districts. Let me make sure. Precinct 6. Got it upside down. Whoops. Okay, so Spring Lake Township, Crockery Township, Polkton Charter Township, City of Coopersville, Talmadge Charter Township, Wright Township, Chester Township. So he's got these challengers, and so when you watch, or if you watch this interview, if you watch it in full, you will see that idea of, we need, we've got the state government, and they are over us. They control what we do. So we have to follow the laws, which I agree. We have to follow laws. Laws are a good thing to follow. But the Ottawa Impact is challenging him because they say that, no, you don't necessarily need to follow every single law. So we have Mr. Fenske speaking about kind of the fears that he has about Ottawa Impact.
This organization, to me, they're a very scary group. They're getting all their money from outside of the state. Their buddies are, the one living brother, the Koch brother. They got somewhere in the neighborhood of $160,000 to just run against all of us. When I met with Joe Moss in December, first of all, he I don't know why he felt that he needed to tell me that he was carrying. It doesn't matter to me whether he's carrying or not, but at the end of our conversation, which took about an hour and a half, he said, if we get in, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that DE&I office.
So he goes on to say that he's worried about also the lack of experience, the lack of leadership, lack of leadership experience, and the lack of experience in running a township or a county from Ottawa Impact. Now, he also said he's worried about them getting rid of the DE&I office, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office. So I kind of questioned Mr. Fenske. I was like, well, there's been a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion offices that their goal, maybe not the goal of the people that established them, but their goal, the goal of the director is to skew everything to the left. I think. Yeah, you're seeing me go left. I'm right, because it's mirrored. So to skew everything to the left. And I actually looked up the director of the Ottawa County DE&I office. And now this doesn't conclusively prove that she's a leftist. But when you go to her LinkedIn page, she's got the pronouns there. She's got them. Let's see. Robin Afric. Yes. So, let me show you here. Again, this doesn't conclusively prove that she's a leftist, but she's working for a Diversity of Equity and Inclusions office. She wanted that position. She's got the pronouns. Let's see. She's from Holland, which again doesn't mean anything. So yeah, this is our director of the Diversity of Equity and Inclusions office. or Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion's office. Excuse me. I am not convinced that this is an office we need. And we spend over $200,000 or around $200,000 on this office. I'm not convinced we need it. But our commissioners established it 3.5 years ago. I actually asked what it has done for our county, like what good it has done. And I got kind of a vague answer. Again, you can go and you can watch the full interview. Mr. Fenske says that it has made our parks more diverse by giving training to our park managers. Now, he did say that our managers, so the DE&I office uses implicit bias training from GARE. And here is that video of him explaining where they get their training from for the DEI office.
Okay. I think that's something that, a lot of people can sympathize with. We've had, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the equity and diversity and inclusion offices that they push critical race theory. They push a lot of different leftist. Okay, that's fair. So
we don't push critical race theory. We don't push GARE.
You're not associated with GARE?
There are links that our DE&I offices has used certain things. An example would be implicit bias, if you've heard of implicit bias.
Yeah, I've taken some of the trainings.
Okay, but it's a toolbox. First of all, it's only a department.
So I'm going to stop him right there. Yes, it is a toolbox, and the tools are garbage. So implicit bias training is critical race theory. Mr. Fenske may not know this, but implicit bias is the idea that that we are all racist at our core, and we need to be trained out of that, right? It believes the worst of people, and that is the foundation on which critical race theory is built. So Mr. Fenske may not realize it, but his diversity, equity, and inclusion office is teaching the beginnings of critical race theory. Now, he told me he doesn't want critical race theory, and I believe him. But Republicans need to do better about taking these innocent-sounding ideas from the left that they build on to make this crazy notion that white people need to be paying, reparations and all this stuff. We've got to stop letting them give us the tools. We can tell them, no, people are not implicitly racist. And it came out a little bit while I was talking with him that he's heard accusations that Ottawa Impact is racist. Well, I'm sure that that's because they want to get rid of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusions office. He didn't say that he thought they were racist, to be clear. But he made the accusation to me, which is suspect. Whenever anybody tells me that somebody else is racist, I'm automatically suspect of that person. Mr. Fenske may, he may think that that's unfair for me to be suspect of him, but I've just heard racist so many times. I've been called racist so many times that it just makes me suspect that you're just using it as a club. Okay? He wasn't using it as a club, I don't think. He may have genuinely heard somebody say that that Ottawa Impact is racist, and he may have thought about that, and he may, just be repeating that because that's what he's heard. But it is almost always a club, and it is almost always untrue, because racist now just means disagrees with the left. So, I didn't really get the sense that Matt Fenske is on guard really against these leftist ideas. He's against all the radical stuff. He said, no, we're not putting dudes in the female jail. We're not doing that. We're not going there. But 15 years down the road after everybody's been through implicit bias training, what's the next step? What's the next step after that? It's little steps that the left uses to take Republican strongholds and indoctrinate them to believe all of their leftist doctrines. So that was just another area that I was unimpressed by his handling of that. And then the last part here, how did we get the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusions Office? How did that come about here in Ottawa County, this Republican stronghold? Where did we get the funding for it? Who demanded it? Let's find out.
How much does Ottawa County spend? I had heard $200,000 a year on our Diversity of Equity and Inclusions office. Is that right?
In the neighborhood of that, yeah. For the first 3 years, it's been going for about 3.5 years. We didn't just kind of come up with, having this office. The big corporations in this county, Shape Corporation, Gentex, Hayworth, all, chambers, foundations, they all came to the county and said, you guys really need to put together, a DE&I office, because companies demand that they have these offices.
Okay. Companies do not run our community. They do provide jobs. They provide many jobs. They're good for the community. But I just don't see Shape picking up and leaving if we say, no, we don't want a DEI office. That's leftist garbage, and we're not going to support it. So those are just some of the biggest things that I took away from the interview that I was like, I disagree with that. There were some other concerning things, like he said, I'm a big Second Amendment person. I hunt. I go sports shooting. And now I'm not going to say that he's not in favor of holding the government accountable with guns. I'm not going to say that he would never. I mean, he's an older guy. He's not thinking about going to war against the government, and neither am I, for that matter. But that's why we have guns. When you mention the Second Amendment and you don't mention defending yourself against enemies, both foreign and domestic, foreign or enemies domestically, right here in our state, when you don't recognize that, or you don't advocate for defending against enemies domestically as well, it just it doesn't sit right totally with me. There were other things, of course. There were a lot of good things. Like he I don't want to make this just don't vote for Matt Fenske, because there were a lot of good things. He mentioned the health department. They do Miles of Smiles. They feed a lot of children, a lot of migrant children, a lot of low income children throughout the community. So I'm not going to say that the health department is totally worthless, but the health department definitely did overstep their bounds. And Mr. Fenske has the idea that we can do nothing about it here at the local level. Ottawa Impact is the other way. They say that no, our community is controlled by us, not the state. So there are pluses and minuses, right? I see where he's coming from, saying, that he's got a lot of experience, that he knows what to do with, drainage and stuff like that, working in the community. I see where he says that, the experience is needed. But I also see where our government was set up, again, to be run by the people, for the people, right? So I'm not convinced that a regular person that has no government experience could not run and be successful. Maybe they might need a little bit more help. Maybe Mr. Fenske would be willing to help if he was voted out of office, and he could lend his, some expertise or information to the next person in that office. Maybe he would be willing to do that. I'm not sure. I didn't ask him about that. I should have. But I also see where Ottawa Impact is saying, no, we are not going to allow our community to be run by unelected bureaucrats up in the health department. Because generally, these are not laws that they're following. They're guidelines issued by the health department. They are not laws made by Congress, gone through the House and the Senate to become cemented into place. Congress established the health department and then said that they can make, rules and stuff. Then, they're just, we need to get back to the point where we are not allowing bureaucrats to run, unelected bureaucrats to run our communities. And so that's kind of the breakdown of my interview with Matt Fenske. I am so appreciative that he talked to me. I would love to have him on the show anytime because, like I said, I don't want to misrepresent him. I want to give him the opportunity to push back against everything I say. And in the interview, I was only asking questions, right? Mr. Fenske, I welcome you on my show. I would love to have a discussion with you about all these things. We can sit down for an hour and just go back and forth on things that we disagree on. And I think that would sharpen both of us, because there are many things that I haven't thought about in my own philosophy, my own political tradition, my own beliefs. There are a lot of things that I'm sure that I haven't thought about that you have, but just from what I gathered, so I'm not convinced that I'm going to vote for Matt Fenske. I'm not convinced that I'm going to vote for Ottawa Impact right now. I am going to talk to both of them, see what I like, see what I don't like about both candidates, and I'm going to make a decision. And I'm not going to tell you who to vote for either. I had a friend tell me actually this morning, oh, you should just tell me who to vote for. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to bring the information to Ottawa County. I want them to be armed with information and to make their own decisions, because that is what I believe government is about. It is, I'm going to say it one more time, by the people and for the people. Okay? That is what I'm here for. I want to arm you, Ottawa County, with information so that you can make the best decision for your family. And with that, I am out of time for today. Hopefully I'll be getting in touch with this director of the DEI office. I'd like to have a discussion with her. I'd like to have a discussion with Sylvia Rohde. I'd like to have a discussion with Joe Moss as well. I will be talking with more of them. Until next week, I'm Anon Don, and this is the Homes Politicast. Remember, if you like what you're getting from me, share this with your friends. My goal is to get information out into Ottawa County, out into Michigan, right? I am local. I want to stay local. I don't want to be nationwide. Ben Shapiro, Matthew Walsh, Michael Knowles, they've got the national thing. There are many people doing national things. You got the two black brothers, I forget, Hodge twins. You got the Hodge twins doing national things. You got all these national places. I want local. I want this to be Michigan, and only we can make a difference in our communities. They can't do it. Okay, those conservatives out there doing national news, they cannot impact our communities. We can. So share this with your friends. Ask me more questions. Ask me, suggest questions that I can ask of these commissioners, the candidates for commissioners. I value Ottawa County's input. I value Michigan's input. So with that, I'm out, and I will see you guys next week.